I saw a little interview yesterday that went around on Facebook with Paddy Considine talking about Dead Man's Shoes. Now, if you've never seen Dead Man's Shoes, stop this video now and go and watch Dead Man's Shoes. Okay, for those who've just come back having watched that. Okay, so I saw this little interview, Paddy Considine, and he talks about the process of writing that movie. And it's a beautiful little thing, he says. Poetry, even. Where he puts it to him as to the relationship he has with Shane Meadows is that they met each other when they were about 18 or 19 and they'd known each other for about 10 years and they'd worked together coming up with stuff. He's an actor, he's a director, writer guy, can edit. Shane Meadows is like, I don't know, he's like the one of the great gonzo filmmakers. It's like, why hasn't he ever been noticed for that? And it'd be a matter of, well, he can probably just do what he wants. He's probably just got the means to just do whatever he wants. It's like he would probably be found out and lose his heart as a filmmaker if he was to be like doing an Avengers movie or something. So he wants to tell his own stories, and it's like the stories he tells are usually really fucking compelling stories, real stories, because there is stories. So it's like he's a good one because he gets to what he knows. And in telling Dead Man's Shoes, it's a story what he knows, and what's the story he knows? And it be him and Paddy Considine sitting down talking about the people they know in the town they live in, and the stories that we all know of things that happened to people that were atrocities. Atrocities, that word, the right word, atrocities. Done on real people that never saw the light of day. No justice was ever served. And it'd be a matter of, okay, so what have they done? Well, they've told the story of an atrocity, but in their story of the atrocity, the victim's big brother returns and kills everybody who played a part. And it's like, it's High Plains Drifter, isn't it? And it's like, yes, it is. It's High Plains Drifter. It's like, if you watch the film again, because I had a rewatch of it after listening to Paddy talking about how organically it came together based on that they'd been exchanging stories of people they knew and unspeakable crimes that in some regards never happened, but everyone knows they did. No police were involved, but everybody knows who did it and everybody knows who's responsible, and they did. Okay, what's your favourite cowboy movie? High Plains Drifter. What happens in High Plains Drifter? It's like the ghost of a dead cop comes back and gets revenge on the cunts who murdered him. What? Yeah. The Clint Eastwood movie. It's like a curse was placed on these men who killed the sheriff. Good man. A curse was placed on them, and then a curse walks into town and destroys them. And toys with them and destroys them. As if he knows something. And it's ambiguous as to whether he's in essence the spirit of that man transferred into the next man who came into the place. And it's like St. Paul rode in on a fucking horse with that same spirit that Jesus had and destroyed them. High Plains Drifter. It's like it's a supernatural western. Dead Man's Shoes is a supernatural western. It's that story. It's like there's something that tells as it moves on, and it's a matter of, if you've seen movies that work like that, Cartoon's a good one like that, where it's a supernatural story, where someone's put a curse on someone and it pays off. Because they tend to, it's like it's got a ring of truth to it as to what goes around comes around. There's a thing about natural law when someone finds out what you did to theirs, the relative of the victim. But it's like Dead Man's Shoes takes it a real step further than anything else that goes about it in that way. I mean, the High Plains Drifter's cop, good sheriff who's murdered by a load of scumbags. It's like the crime done against him pales in comparison to the torture done to that boy. It's worse. That's an atrocity that they did. I mean, for whatever reason, you know, I shot the sheriff. It's like, I shot the sheriff. It can be something that's that happens, right? When many people all see a benefit of the sheriff being fucking dead. And it'd be a wrong. But how does that compare to parasites and savages taking advantage of someone who's completely helpless and torturing them? And when they're torturing this boy keeps saying, Richard, my brother will come. No, I'll tell my brother. And his brother, somewhere out in the world, has got something kind of in real time, an endless responsibility for that boy. He's the one who defends him. He's always been the one who defended him. And when he needed him, monsters preyed on him. But they're abusing this boy. And he's shouting out, my brother will get you. Richard. Richard. Calls out his name. It's like, that's the seeds planted of, say, it's the supernatural Western, is like High Plains Drifter. It's like those guys laughing as they tortured this kid. They can't not have heard that. My brother, Richard will come. Richard will come and save me. Richard will come. The movie pushes to the end. There's a little acting turn at the end by the guy who's like the one who got away in the story, because there's a subtle sort of arc in the tale as to where the monsters were killed and the repentant man has to close out the deal. The price, basically the last guy's price for forgiveness is he had to kill Richard, because he was so far doubled down in his own insanity as to where he was walking around with his brother. He was as close to him as... It's like the guys from the afterlife is just screaming endlessly in his head to be avenged. And by the end of it, it's like, I just want to be with my brother. So you have to end this. So it's like the best little acting turn you'll see from a guy who comes in who's in a movie for not more than about 15 minutes as the last guy in Dead Man's Shoes, as to where he was the one who knew better. It's like he went along with it on this silly trip they went on. He went along with it, with them, because he had a feeling there was something amiss. He tried to go along, he went along with them because he knew that there was something wrong with this, and he didn't like what was going on, and he knew right from wrong, and he didn't have the power to put a stop to it, but he was like, I'll try, you know. I'll try and look out for him. Failed. He actually carried all the guilt. The other people in the gang, they were like, I don't, what, fucking what? That fucking retard. He wasn't human to them, was he? They dehumanised him. They just, oh well. We had a bit of crack and things got out of hand. We didn't kill him. But he took responsibility for it. He knew. He was the good man. He fucking knew. He knew there was something wrong. And when it all came out, it's a matter of he carried it with him that if he'd have done something, he could have stayed behind. He could have made sure he were all right, but he didn't. And he was the one who carried all the sin. And it's like Richard comes along and he listens to his story and he says to him, was he calling out my name? When you were torturing him? Yeah, he was. Over and over again. We were calling my name over and over again. It's like, hey, we got some real juju on the go here, haven't we, in this tale? Like, yeah, it's High Plains Drifter set in Matlock. And the characters in it are harmless scum. But hey, put them in a position where they've got someone who's vulnerable, who can't defend themselves at all. Suddenly they're the big men. Suddenly they're pushing people around. Suddenly they're taking pleasure in hurting someone. It's like, fuck all gangsters, once they're booed to a fucking goose, nobody's scum. But if you give them access to people who they can exploit, they suddenly become monsters. It's like, seriously, it's like there are some fucking crimes that go beyond and demand to be avenged in that regard. And it's like, them two guys wrote that movie. They sat down and they, yeah, it's right, isn't it? They deserve to die. If we make a movie where we kill them all like in High Plains Drifter, it's like, then people will get it. And then it's like, never known a person not being moved by that film or in some way, in a funny sense, entertained or even titillated as to where there are those, and I've looked at it from that angle myself, that movie, when I've seen it, when I first saw it, who found it darkly hilarious. What happens to those people? Look at it now and I see it as being like deeply spiritual. Like, excuse me guys, you're so far afoul of the rules that nature itself has decided to bring down death. And it's like, when God comes to fucking destroy you, he's not just going to kill you, he's going to terrify you, and he's going to torture you, and he's going to leave you helpless, like you did his brother, and then he's going to slaughter you like pigs. And he's going to use your dead friends as a message to absolutely horrify and terrorize before he kills you for what you did. Dead Man's Shoes is like High Plains Drifter writ large with no guns, and the crime be more unspeakable than killing the sheriff. To take delight in torturing someone who was mentally handicapped and then walking away and leaving him to die the way they did after they'd fucked with him literally in every way you can fuck with someone in such a short period of time. As to, yeah, there's things in life worse than murdering, and it's what they did to that kid, and for it they all deserve to die. And also, as it goes, the last guy, he deserved to live. He deserved to be forgiven because he knew. He took responsibility for his part in it. And he punished himself already. And always would. For what he did. Didn't have to go to jail for it. He had to carry it with him. And that guy pays full price for his cowardice, but he gets to have a chance to make amends. How does he make amends? Well, he's got 2 young lads there. He can play a part in them becoming the sort of kids who stop that from going on. See the signs of it and understand what it is. As to those who take pleasure in cruelty and inflicting pain on others because they can, and there be no other reason that they need to do it. That's why in this country, they take real umbrage against people who are cruel to animals, right? There's a dark truth to that in that if you're capable of doing that to animals, what are you capable of doing to a child? It's always that by extension. It's like if you can hold a dumb animal accountable and shout at it and beat it like some do, what might you do to a child? What might you do to a helpless person? That's always the alarm bell. It's like, it seems that we've forgotten that.